Hi guys and welcome, and now in today's video, which is practical, we are going to demonstrating and explaining how can you actually become man in the middle, what do you need to do, what process and steps you need to follow in order to become man in the middle. Now I hope you watched our theoretical video where I fully explain what's man in the middle, how it works, and now we're gonna see just in action. And for that case, here I have a Windows 7 machine up and running, and now I'm gonna open a command prompt, and here I'm going to actually see and specify my ARP packets, ARP requests. So the only thing I need to type is just ARP-A, click enter, and therefore I see that that IP address of my router is actually having that physical address, and you know that physical address means actually MAC address. And therefore there are other machines in my network, so these are they. One is 0.10, one is 0.101, and they have a different kind of MAC addresses, and as you can see, every device there having own MAC address, and that's why how the machines are actually knowing each other, where they are and how they are actually sending packets to router. And using the ARP request, their packets, the router knows where to actually forward that packet when it comes from the outside of the network. So you know that when you visit a web page, you wait for response, and when that response comes, the router knows where to redirect that response depending on that ARP request. So the ARP is basically managing where you stay on your network, is basically managing how can you transmit data and how the machines see each other. So this is done by that ARP request, and as you can see on that IP is standing that MAC address, or the opposite. That MAC address represents that IP, and that MAC address, that physical address, represents that IP, and this is all what ARP is. So now here I see my ARP requests about my network. Now I'm going to go in my Kali machine here, and now it's time to actually modify and become man in the middle. This can be done by various amount of ways, but now we are going to do it manual. There are a lot of frameworks for becoming man in the middle, like man in the middle framework, like BetterCap, and we're gonna see that in action in the future videos. Now I want to show you how it's done manually, so you know what's actually happening when you go for automated tools, for automated frameworks, and yeah, all the things that need automation. You need to know how they work manually before you use them. So here the first thing is to actually allow our machine to act as a router, or in other words, to forward the packets. Because if we actually do not allow that, when we become man in the middle, our internet connection of targets gonna cut off, and so the attack is basically useless and pointless. So we need to actually act as a router, and the router redirects packets, so we need to actually allow us to redirect packets as well. So they receive internet connection, can be a little bit delayed, but that's not actually going to hurt anyone. So here it's time to enter the command sysctl, and therefore specify -w, and therefore specify net.ipv4-forward, and then equals 1. So as you can see, now we specify that, and that equals 1, so now we can actually forward packets and transmit that packets throughout the router. And now it's actually time to do the spoof, and spoof, as we said before, is actually lying or tricking. So now we're going to spoof that we are the router to the machine, and we're going to spoof that we are the machine to the router. So now it's time to use the command arp spoof, and you can see we can specify the interface, and therefore the target, the host. We just need to specify the target and therefore add the host. So here do arp spoof, specify our interface, which can be viewed by typing ifconfig, and as you can see I'm using the interface A80. So here specify that interface, and therefore specify the target. So in my case, the target is going to be the router, so 192.168.1.1, and therefore specify the other target, which is the client. And for that case, you need to know the client's IP address. You can use like tools for like NetDiscover or Nmap or BetterCap to see its IP, but now for simplicity we're just gonna go here and type ipconfig, and here we have 1.11, so 192.168.1.11, and therefore just click enter. Now, as you can see, is sending and editing ARP requests, ARP packets, is actually constantly sending ARP packets constantly to our specified IPs. So it's constantly basically lying that we are the one who are not meant to be. So here, just open a new terminal and do the same thing, but reverse the target. So ARP spoof, specified interface, and therefore go for the target, and now first specify the host, so 11, and therefore specify the gateway, so that one. Okay, so as you can see, we have two windows of constantly sending packets. The one window is sending packets to our gateway that we are the hosts, we are that Windows PC, and the other terminal is constantly sending requests to our Windows machine that we are the gateway. So let's go back to our Windows machine and actually see what happened. Here, this is the previous ARP table. Now we're going to output the new one. So we go for ARPA, and now let's just see the differences. Here we have a physical address of the gateway, started with FA and finishing with 2E. And here, as you can see, the starting address is like 00 and it's finishing with 20. So as you can see, that machine here and our gateway having the exact same MAC address. That means that our Windows PC is going to send packets to that MAC address, which actually represents not the router but that IP. So as you can see, this is the MAC address of our Kali machine, which has the IP point 10. And now the point 10 and point 1, which is our gateway, has actually multiplied, and they are actually the same MAC address. So the one MAC address represents two IPs. Okay, so if we see here that our default gateway is equals that IP, so 1.1, our machine knows that it needs to send a packet to that 1.1 IP since it's actually our gateway. But here we are actually changing our packet, changing the MAC address, so that IP for the gateway representing that MAC address. So basically our Windows PC is going to send packets to that MAC address, which means our Kali machine. And this is the core of man-in-the-middle attack. As you can see, we now modified the router's MAC address, so it seems like we are the router and our Windows PC is going to send packets through us. And since we are forwarding that packets, that means if we did not actually set up our machine to forward packets, the connection is going to fall and our Windows PC won't get any internet access at all, which is gonna actually fail the attack and actually do nothing. It's basically pointless. So this is a very important step to actually set up your port forwarding with that syscontrol command, and therefore to actually become in the middle. And now it's time to try it out. So minimize that, open a Firefox. Okay, so we are now in DuckDuckGo and we can search for different words, for example like GTR, and as you can see we have access, we have internet access, we can browse pages, we can do like anything normal. We don't see nothing strange and nothing different. So yeah, you can see that we are browsing like a normal user. And now this means that we are actually successfully become man in the middle. We successfully redirected that packet, we successfully edit the ARP requests, and now Windows machine is sending requests to my Kali machine, and my Kali machine is sending requests to my router. My router sends a request to that page comes to router, the response from that page, the response comes then back to my Kali machine, and my Kali machine redirects that response to my Windows machine. So now we can use tools like URL Snarf, which actually allow us to see like what pages our victim is visiting, because actually the actual packet is transmitted to us. For example, we can go and type URL Snarf and then specify the interface and then click enter. Now we have to open our Windows machine go for example in Stack Overflow, browse a little bit, go for example in Stack Exchange. So here now go to my archive machine and see that we actually visited that security Stack Exchange. We get that request. Sometimes it needs a little more time to actually calculate and respond with all the requests, all the web pages. But here we actually saw that it successfully get requests from that website, which is securitystackexchange.com, HTTP1, and we have the user agent here, which is Mozilla and Mozilla for Windows. So this is the basic example of man-in-the-middle attack, how you become man-in-the-middle and what you can do after you become man-in-the-middle. In the future videos we're gonna see what's actually a session, we're gonna see how to use Burp Suite and how to actually work with that. And therefore we are going to actually see more advanced attacks and actually the session hijacking itself. So thank you everyone for watching and see you in the next video.